I heard 3 shots and I was like, all right, somebody's shooting. 30 seconds later, I heard like 7 shots. And I was like, dang, maybe they got a new gun. 30 seconds later, I heard like 10 shots.
Bullets screeching through the air.
I have no idea how many gunshots I heard. There was a lot, and it seemed to only make the cops run faster at the scene.
The active gunfire from a suspect inside an East Charlotte home and law enforcement officers later led to a lockdown near Galway Drive. The lockdown causing massive traffic delays and many people waiting for hours to get inside their homes.
It's hot. You can't get in the house. You can't get in or out.
This street was blocked off. They had all of this blocked off. We had to walk down here. My car is all the way up there.
Some neighbors told me hearing gunshots in this neighborhood is not uncommon, but seeing a heavy police scene like this is very unusual.
It was the largest police presence, as you can see, I've ever seen in my entire life. This is scary. I could hear the gunshots happening.
As neighbors express their concerns for crime, they say they're also sending prayers for those who lost their lives in this gunfight. A fight where 4 law enforcement officials were killed, killing parts of a community and a country, too.
All right, guys. So unfortunately, once again, we got to talk about the tragedy that is happening in law enforcement, where we have police officers being gunned down at an unprecedented rate. We've never seen anything like this in this country in regards to the attacks on law enforcement. And it's not just attacks from criminals that are, killing and shooting law enforcement, but also the attacks on law enforcement when it comes to just the public's general feelings about law enforcement. You have Democrats trying to defund law enforcement, trying to put down law enforcement as some type of oppressive institution or racist institution. And again, the result of that is what we're currently seeing right now in a lot of these liberal cities, which is chaos and destruction. But again, the most concerning part of what we're seeing happening with law enforcement in this country is that law enforcement, police officers are being shot and killed around the country. And it seems like an issue that the mainstream liberal media doesn't really want to address. People don't really want to talk about this as much as they want to talk about criminals that get shot and killed justifiably by police. And that is one of the main concerns that I have with the current trend, is that when you have mass shootings where police officers are killed, nobody seems to give a damn. But when cops have to kill a criminal, all of a sudden you have the politicians coming out the woodwork actually giving a damn about what's happening, and then they call for legislation, all types of changes. Something must be done about the problem. But again, you have cops losing their lives at an unprecedented rate that we've never seen before in this country because of the hate and vitriol towards police, partly because of that. Nobody feels like we should be changing anything, right? There are no politicians coming out the woodwork talking about how we need to protect police officers or anything like that. And I think it's really sad. So with that being said, we got to talk about a tragic story that happened out in Charlotte, North Carolina, a place that's very close to home for me. And unfortunately, 4 law enforcement officers were shot and killed in the line of duty. 3 of them were U.S. Marshals, and 1 was a Charlotte Mecklenburg police officer. Now, they were serving a warrant for a suspect inside of an East Charlotte home, in which the suspect apparently was a felon that was illegally possessing a firearm, and they were serving a warrant, and then they were met with gunfire as they were trying to take down the suspect. And a total of 8 law enforcement officers were shot, including 3 Charlotte Mecklenburg police officers that were injured. So again, thoughts and prayers are with the families of the officers that lost their lives and the officers themselves that are recovering in the hospital from their wounds. So without further ado, let's learn a little bit about what happened here.
Come on the air tonight with breaking news as yet another law enforcement officer has died following this afternoon's shootout in East Charlotte. CMPD confirming Officer Joshua Iyer has passed away tonight from his injuries. We're also learning the names of 2 of the 3 others who died today. You see their photos there as well. They are Sam Peloche and Alden Elliott. Both were Department of Adult Correction veterans assigned to the U.S. Marshals Carolinas Regional Fugitive Task Force. 4 other officers are also wounded this evening. We thank you for joining us. I'm Vanessa Rufus.
And I'm Colin Mayfield here at CMPD headquarters in Uptown. It has been an extremely long day, not only for the city of Charlotte, but a very trying and difficult day for CMPD and all the other law enforcement agencies that serve and protect here in Charlotte. It was just a U.S. Marshals Task Force team trying to serve a warrant at a home in East Charlotte when they were shot upon. We have team coverage tonight of this deadly shootout, the entire ordeal.
The Charlotte community is mourning the loss of 4 law enforcement officials as the nation watched Monday's events in horror.
And the most that I can ask of our community is that we honor and respect them for all the work that they've done, all the work that we will do to make it possible for our city to be safer.
Now, remember, Charlotte is one of these cities that has a history of anti-police riots and protests. 2016, there was a black man that was shot and killed by Charlotte police, and there were protests and riots, okay? And then that happened again during the George Floydification of America. So it's important to note that, again, Charlotte is one of these cities that does have a heavy anti-police kind of sentiment amongst certain segments of the population, right? The ones that are prone to commit crimes, right? So I'm just saying, that's something to keep in mind.
Monday afternoon, gunshots rattled this East Charlotte neighborhood after the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force attempted to serve a state arrest warrant for possession of a firearm by a felon. Police say when officers approached a house on Galway Drive, a suspect started shooting at them. Officers returned fire, and the suspect died. As they approached him, police say someone from inside the house started shooting at them.
The individual that was set up that we were serving the warrant on was the individual who fired the initial shots and was deceased in the front yard at the end of all of this.
Yeah, so again, how many times have we seen this same scenario? Okay, you have cops serving a warrant or doing some routine traffic stop, some criminal that knows he's in the process of committing a crime, open fires on police. I did a story probably just a few weeks ago about the Memphis police officer that was shot and killed while approaching a suspicious vehicle. Lo and behold, the 17-year-old in the vehicle was a career criminal who had an illegal weapon, and then he ended up open firing on police. One of the police officers loses their life. So, this goes to show you how dangerous it is to be a police officer. And I don't think that people really understand that being a police officer is not an easy job. It is a thankless job, and situations like this are becoming more and more and more prevalent and frequent. And with the anti-police sentiment that's going on in this country, the defunding of police, things like that, you're seeing law enforcement quit, right? They're just deciding, hey, I'm just not going to do this, right? It's just simply not worth it. I don't get paid enough. Okay, we don't get enough praise for what we do. The fact that, again, these officers are putting their lives on the line every single day for other people that, quite frankly, don't like them very much. And when you see stories like this, it's sad because I think what's going to happen is you're going to see more officers quit. They're going to say, hey, you know what? It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it.
The standoff forced neighbors to shelter in place and 4 schools to go into modified lockdown. When police cleared the scene, they say they found 2 people inside the house, a 17-year-old and a woman who are, quote, persons of interest.
We're trying to determine now what exactly occurred inside of the residence.
Roads around Novant Health and Atrium Health were shut down to make way for emergency vehicles coming from the scene. CMPD says a total of 8 law enforcement officials were shot. The U.S. Marshals Service confirms one of their marshals was killed, along with 2 other task force members who were parole officers. CMPD officer Joshua Iyer, who was critically injured, died at the hospital hours later.
We'll always be indebted to Officer Iyer for his bravery and his sacrifice for this profession.
As Vanessa mentioned, we now know the names of 2 more victims tonight, Samuel Peloche and William Elliott with the Corrections Department. Our hearts go out to the victims' families and the officers who are recovering tonight.
Yeah, so, same goes here. It's sad, it's tragic, and police officers, police departments around the country, they're taking notice in regards to where a lot of the anti-police rhetoric is coming from, okay? And they're showing Democrats, right, the people that it's coming from, that we don't appreciate it. We don't appreciate you making our job more dangerous and making it harder to be a police officer. You've seen that when it comes to certain stories about, Democrats being rejected from funerals of police officers. Like, for example, what happened with Kathy Hochul out in New York City, when New York City Police Department officer Jonathan Diller was slain by a career criminal that was released on bail reform, okay? Policies that Democrats like Kathy Hochul support, and the police did not appreciate that. They feel like they're losing their brothers due to the soft on crime Democrat policies, right? So when you have these Democrats that don't support law enforcement, that are antagonistic against law enforcement, law enforcement is speaking out and letting them know that, hey, we don't appreciate it. Especially when you try to show up to the funeral of a fallen police officer who lost their life at the hands of a career criminal, like what happened out in Chicago here with police officer Luis Huesca, who was gunned down by a career criminal on his way home, okay, from work. The career criminal apparently tried to steal his vehicle and ended up shooting the police officer to death. And now Mayor Brandon Johnson is being asked not to attend the funeral, right? Basically, he tried to come and they were like, no, you can't come. So he basically got rejected from the funeral. And again, this is just one of many stories in which you have police officers letting these Democrats know they don't appreciate the antagonistic rhetoric that they're putting out there towards police and the soft on crime policies that they are championing that are making the job a lot harder than it should be.
Brandon Johnson was among those expressing condolences to the fallen officer's family today, but the mayor did not attend the funeral after learning that the officer's grief-stricken mother said he was not welcome. ABC 7 political reporter Craig Wall joins us now with more on that. Craig.
Judy, this decision by the family causing a bit of a political stir. Last night, the mayor in his public schedule said he would be attending the funeral, despite being told earlier in the evening by 2 public officials, including Illinois Comptroller Susana Mendoza, that the family did not want him there. This morning, the mayor relented and decided he would stay away. Retired police officers and others say they can't remember a time when the family of a Chicago police officer told the Chicago mayor he or she was not welcome at the funeral.
It's a powerful message. They're basically saying that they do not want the most powerful, most prominent, most important member of the city, the mayor of the city of Chicago, to participate in this very important event.
It says, yeah, I mean, well, why would they? Why would they? I mean, this is the same guy that came out and said, don't demonize the criminals, right? The teenagers that are destroying the city. That Brandon Johnson seems to be more concerned about their lives than the lives of police officers, the people that are there to protect the city. This guy has been anti-law enforcement, okay? He's been pro-crime and destruction, okay? He's been pro-agent of chaos since he took office. And again, he promised to defund the police. He is not a friend of police. He's not making it easier for them to do their jobs because he seems to care more about the lives of criminals than, again, the police. Like, for example, when Dexter Reed was shot and killed, Dexter Reed being a career criminal, when he was shot and killed by police in that shootout, everybody remembers that, okay? The police that conducted the traffic stop and they pulled up to the guy's SUV. They kept telling him to get out. He wasn't complying, and then he shoots at them first, okay? Which is basically, you know, a death wish when you do that to police, and then police opened fire at him and ended up killing him. And Brandon Johnson, instead of coming out and supporting the police and the fact that an officer was shot, okay, after being shot at first, no. He comes out and wants to make it about race and just simply throw law enforcement under the bus before the investigation even began, right? He was actually throwing the police under the bus.
Really disturbing. Take a listen.
As mayor and as a father raising a family, including 2 black boys on the west side of Chicago, I am personally devastated to see yet another young black man lose his life during an interaction with the police. When someone is shot and killed by police in our city, my administration will lead with transparency. Attempts to withhold or delay information are mistakes of the past, and we have already taken concrete steps to start a full investigation into this case.
You know, the appetite right now of the political movement against the police is noticed by citizens, noticed by family members.
The mayor's change of heart and schedule coming only about an hour before the funeral of Officer Luis Huesca was set to begin.
It shows tone deafness, and it also shows a lack of respect.
The mayor, without addressing the controversy, said in a statement, "As mayor, I vow to continue supporting our police and first responders, uniting our city and remaining committed to working with everyone towards building a better, stronger, safer Chicago. My heart is with the Huesca family today." The last time anything close to this happened was in 2021, when officers turned their back on Mayor Lori Lightfoot when she went to visit the family of wounded Officer Carlos Yanez at the hospital, despite being asked to stay away. Today, there were a number of other elected officials who attended Officer Huesca's funeral, the police superintendent choosing to focus instead on his fallen officer, not the controversy.
I'm not going to get into politics or anything surrounding this funeral. I am not going to take away from the real focus here. And the real focus is that of Officer Luis Huesca and his family.
Now, last week, the officer's family had also informed the governor's team that they did not want him to attend the funeral. The governor saying today that a lot of times families do not want the complications that come from political figures attending the funerals. He says he always does what the family requests. Not sure exactly what happened with the mayor's office. They were not able to tell us what was the mix-up or misunderstanding.
Okay, but the superintendent said it very well today. It was about the Huesca family.
Is, absolutely.
Well, I mean, again, they just don't want Democrats there. I mean, that's just what it is. They don't want people there that actively are working against law enforcement and the ability to do their jobs, right? So, you know, that's what we're seeing. Law enforcement, they're turning their back specifically on Democrats. They're embracing, figures like President Trump, who has come out and shown that he is very pro-law enforcement. So when Trump shows up, hey, they love it. But when a Democrat shows up, they don't. Because ultimately today, they notice who is supporting them and who's not. And, you know, at the end of the day, we live in a country where we need law and order. And we cannot have law and order when we have our police being undermined at every turn from Democrats, whether that be with the soft on crime policies, whether that be with defunding, whether that be with the demonization of police. It is leading our country into a very, very, very dark place. And it really is unfortunate to see, because the result of that is police officers losing their lives. And it's an epidemic that we don't talk about enough. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share. A Black conservative perspective. Peace.